Greetings, and welcome to the Power of Vintage. This Atari 1040 ST looks like it's had a rough life. And there's something definitely interesting inside of it. I don't know what it is yet, but let's dig in and see what we can find. Speaking of a rough life, I opened up the case or the box. I don't think this was packed really well. I think this just has had a rough life. We have some damaged keycaps. We have some damaged screws. It looks like it's been dropped a few times. We'll see what it looks like as we disassemble and pull it apart. But a lot of stuff came out from the inside. All right, let's get to it. This Atari 1040 ST has this note on the bottom. I find this very interesting. Modified, will not run with software from Atari Corporation. I think there's something to be really interesting inside this guy. Let's dig in and take a look. See if we can't make that work. This computer I picked this off of eBay. It was listed as non-working for parts, didn't power on. I'm not going to try powering it on with that kind of a notice specifically. My guess is the power supply is not functioning, and I don't want to risk damaging anything that's inside, any of the potential parts. This might be scrap, it might work, we'll see. I have a number of Atari ST power supplies. What I'm just doing here is picking up all the little bits and pieces. I'll see if I can't reassemble some of this stuff together, find the homes for some of these plastic bits. I think that'll hopefully help this out. All right, we have my trusty bent screwdriver, and we'll start pulling this guy out. Yeah, I looked at it at a cursory level, and it's interesting because there's screws in the case, but they're not staying inside the case. Or they're not holding much inside. Everything's pretty much loose inside. So we'll just take out the screws that don't seem to be doing anything. As an example, the mounting post for this guy is non-existent. So it looks like it still binds into the top part of the case, but it is not doing a tremendous amount. All right, where to go next? Let's go to these screws back here. Now, I'm just kind of wondering, what does this mean exactly? Obviously, it means that this probably, even if it does work, it wouldn't like regular software for some reason. So trying to wonder what was done to the machine in order to make it different. I don't know, maybe a PC emulator is put inside or something like that. Although those usually kept the 68,000 CPU, so there would still be compatibility. But well, we're almost there. Wow, this is really... I mean, I'm going to have to show you this, some of the damage that was done to this case. I think I got my work cut out for me. Let me take you off the tripod briefly. I can take a look at some of the... Actually, it's hard to see. Let me get some light. Better lighting. Right, a normal screw hole. You see that? You got that bottom that the screw head attaches to, and clamshells it, pulls it shut, pulls the casing shut. In the case of this, it's non-existent. Non-existent. Looks like it's crushed. So a lot of damage. We will, well, I'll probably be able to fix some parts of it, but maybe not everything. Might be able to 3D print some spacers of some sort to put in there. All right. There we go. And like I said, it said it didn't power on, so I'll use an external or another PSU that I have to test it out. I don't want to use the floppy drive either initially until I take a look at it. I don't want to stick any nice discs in it, so I have some tested working floppy drives as well that we can test out with this. All right. First things first, get rid of the shielding on this guy. PSU. Oh. Get the tabbies fixed. There we go. Remove the screws, keeping this in the case. Yeah, I'm missing a bunch of other screws as well, looks like. So my guess is those are some of those screws that came out in the shipping. Or were in the case and were just flopping around free inside until they fell out. And then there, and then there. We got this here. At least there's enough screws to keep it mounted. The motherboard mounted to the bottom case. That's good. All right. So close. Almost there. There we are. Ooh, that is not been removed for a long time. A nice long button. I love the way these things look. Not very common. Let's see, any other parts? Nope. Let's pop these out. Only two of them. Two of the plastic stands here. All right. Ooh. Another one. Another piece removed. Yeah, we got a lot of broken plastic in here. All right, such is life. Such is the life of vintage computing. Ooh, got another piece that just came off again. You gotta love it. We now have motherboard out. Actually, yeah, let's take out the shielding. I'm anxious to see what they did to this. Like I said, I think my thought is that the CPU has been altered in some way, maybe. That's the only thing I can think of, really. Oh, missed one. You always miss one. I always miss one. I don't know about you. Maybe you guys are very methodical and you always get every last one. Of course, I missed two. I didn't just miss one. I missed two. There we go. I think I'd done this enough that I wouldn't miss any of them, but there we go. Off to the side. Oh, CPU right there. It looks very bog standard. I don't see any mods. It doesn't look like anyone's ever been in the shifter. Actually, let's take the PSU off, because we'll set this to the side. I'll probably end up recapping it eventually. Huh. I'll open the shifter, but I'm gonna say one of these ROM chips is not like the others. Interesting. I'm leaning towards that at the moment now. Interesting. I've never seen that happen before. Yeah, shifter looks normal. Doesn't look like they've done anything there. Yeah. This looks like an EEPROM. Well, let's see what we can do with it. All right. Where do we got? I got it. Here's the power supply. We got this guy here. This is from one of my STEs I have, but it'll work just fine. This has been recently recapped. As you can see, it is looking pristine and looking good. Here we go. Tested working, May 2022. It's got a nice little shield on it. We're good to go. Get that plugged in. There we are. Get the monitor cord. Move it over like this. The monitor's plugged in already. We're good to go there. Set this floppy disk off to the side. We'll pop in Time Bandit. Attach the keyboard. You know what? I'm not going to attach that keyboard. I have a working keyboard that I know is tested working. Let's isolate to what might be going wrong as opposed to what I think might be going wrong. Remove variables. Let's get you plugged in. Make sure you turned off. Power on the screen. And okay. That's a known working floppy drive with a known working copy of Time Bandit. It should have auto-booted. No, don't want to do that. Okay. I'm not getting anything there. Wow. All right. That was some funky screen work. It looked really fuzzy there. All right, so let's try something. I'm going to power this guy off. We're going to disconnect the power supply. And we're going to go down to here and take a look. I have refurbished quite a few Atari STs in the past. And there sometimes are issues with the ROM chips. Let me pop you off here. So I have bags. These are TOS 1.0s. They came from other computers. I've refurbished more than a few Atari STs. Let's put it that way. So let's just take a look at the ROMs. This is U7. We'll pop out this guy. This is the one that's not like the others. My good old Sesame Street learning. I learned when I was a wee little laddie. I don't know what's going on. Why is the focus not working? There we are. That is something. I'm going to have to look into that. What in the world this thing is. Because it obviously looks like it worked, but the floppy drive doesn't work. Okay. So, we'll go through a few of these chips. Let's see here. We zoom in. We've got 152, 151, 150, 153, 154. Let's look for a 155. 152, 151, 155, I think. Yeah, here's 155. let me just make sure. Pins are looking good. Yeah, that looks good. All right, pop him in. All right. Maybe it is that easy, because everything else seems to be working okay. Who knows? I mean, it could also be the floppy controller as well. That could be what's causing that issue. I've seen similar issues with floppy controllers having had some. Oh, that's not good. We'll need to straighten that pin on the board. I got a little too rough with it. There we go. There we have it. No, but I've had issues with the floppy controllers in the past. Not very often, maybe once or twice. The MMU seems to be working great. The glue seems to be working great. All right. We have the same floppy disk in there. Actually, let me get a joystick. We're going to try this out. You gotta be kidding me. This was another easy fix. Obviously, the power supply, I'm going to need to do a recap of the original PSU or replace it with a Meanwell. I don't know, one of the two. I'll probably need to service the floppy drive. I do have a backup of the big button floppy drive as well. I could always go Gotek, but we'll see. I already have a 1040 ST, so the objective would be, let's see if we can find a home for this guy. Let's try this. All right. This is such a good game. I spent many hours playing this game, and I'm not very good at it anymore. I used to be actually excellent at this game. I think there's actually a way to win the game, but I'm never able to do it other than just shoot and kill things. There we go. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to power this guy off, power that off. I'm going to see what I can find out about this this ROM chip. What in the world was this meant to do? I'll try to read off it with my programmer and see if I can't learn anything from it, dump the contents of this chip. But interesting. Back to that note on the bottom of the case. Computer Curriculum Corporation. Does anyone out there know what Computer Curriculum Corporation is? I can do a Google search. We'll see if I see anything there. But let's see if I learn anything.
All right, so I did a little bit of digging, or rather Google researching, searching on Google, into the source of that modified ROM chip, at least as is mentioned on the bottom of the case, that sticker on the bottom of the case, Computer Curriculum Corporation. Now, the first mention I actually found was in the Atari 1987 annual report, their corporate annual report. And they were just highlighting the adoption of the Atari ST specifically and highlighting how successful it was being, right? But in that paragraph that you see on the screen here, they call out the use of Atari computers in over 1,000 schools across the United States, and that those computers were using the Computer Curriculum Corporation's software. And this is a company that was based in Palo Alto, California, and that was pretty interesting. I thought that was kind of cool. I then found a few other mentions about the Computer Curriculum Corporation as well, just in various different magazines and such, or uploaded magazine images and such. And looking at the first paragraph you see, not the image, but the first paragraph you see, I know it's kind of small, but they announced a commitment to Atari equipment. They package Atari STs along with their mini computers and a series of courses, right? They bundle hardware and software together. And my initial guess, and I think this is probably a good one from a business perspective, is that the computers weren't intentionally modified with that special ROM chip in order to only permit the computer curriculum's corporation's software to be run on that computer and not allow any competitor software to be run. That effectively locked any schools that purchased these computers and the initial software into only using software provided by this specific vendor. That's my best guess here. Now, that said, it could be anyone else's guess, but as I saw as I was running it on my computer, or the one that I have here I'm working on, is that it shows any actually Atari ST software inserted in a disk as a blank disk. Kind of interesting. It's a common and valid business practice. We think Apple's the first one to do that kind of stuff. Obviously, this is something that's been done for many, many years.
It is a little bit later. I still have this power supply in here. I actually have a Meanwell power supply on order. We'll get that swapped out for a Meanwell. We'll take the original power supply. I'll remove it from this mounting plate, mount the Meanwell on here, and replace all the goodies with the Meanwell instead. That said, I am drunk on the success of what has happened before with everything else. That we got this guy working. I'm going to take a risk. I'm actually not even going to open this up and clean this. I'm actually going to just try it out. See if I get it to work. You know, these Atari STs, and I can't stress this enough, and if you have seen some of my other videos, I am constantly impressed by how robust these things are. Yes, I've had some issues with some in the past. I've had, but in most instances, I've had very, very little issues with any of the ICs. I've had, I think, out of the 30 plus that I've worked on, very few IC failures. It's mostly just power supply issues, cleaning the floppy disk drive, cleaning the keyboard, maybe doing doing a little bit of resoldering, some dry solder joints here and there. But in general, these things are pretty darn solid. Let's pop this on. Floppy drive is reading. Not too hopeful. Yeah, that's sounding like it needs a good cleaning and a good fixing on the inside. And we don't have the loading screen popped up yet, so it could still recover, but my guess is it's not going to. Nope, we dumped to the desktop. All right, that means it is. Oh, let's just do this. Nah. Nope. All right. All right, we're going to open this guy up. Since I was unsuccessful at getting it to work right off the bat, I figured with all my other luck here, it's actually been, this computer is pretty much a minor fix. Obviously, the power supply needs changing, needs updating, or I could probably just recap it, but I prefer to use a Meanwell, to be honest. Not to mention just because it's enclosed. All right, so we're just going to remove these side screws here. No, I guess there's not. There's usually a little screw in the back. Not on this one. Ooh, this is the bottom. Aha. Okay. The next part is we pop off this top. Come on. Let me get under there. So I can pop you off. All right, I need something thinner. Where do we go? This lovely little tool here. Yeah, the hard thing is when it's thin enough to get underneath, it's not rigid enough to make a difference in lifting it up. Here we go. Let's see here. Surprisingly clean on the inside. Obviously a little dusty, but this is surprisingly clean as compared to the computer itself. It's not that bad. I mean, like I said, dusty, but not like the computer itself. The computer is actually almost filthy. It's at least it seemed that way. We'll just take a little IPA and clean off the desk heads here. Gently, gently, ever so gently. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Simple as that is. All right. Let's see if the simple fix fixed it. Dude. Yeah, it wasn't right out of the box, but yet another simple fix. Just clean the heads. Now, could I lube this and lube the rods on there as well? Yes, I can do that. But sorry if that's really loud. My laugh, I'm just having a great time with this. All right, what we have here is we have a cracked version of Dungeon Master. And that is a 720 kilobyte disk, double-sided. All right, well. Oh. Man, I don't know, maybe I'm just super lucky. Maybe the Atari STs are just crazy robust. I think it's a little bit of both. I am lucky with this one. That it has been so easy. Swap out one ROM chip, clean the drive heads, and that's it. Although I am not using the original keyboard. The original keyboard was, ugh. I didn't want to touch it, at least initially. All right, we are continuing working on this 1040 ST that was set up to not run Atari ST software specifically. Major issue. We fixed the floppy drive is working, replaced the one ROM chip. It's still TOS 1.0. We'll probably end up upgrading to 1.04 eventually. But before we do that, a couple more things in order to get to capability. I've removed the old power supply. I'm not going to recap it. What we have here is we have a lovely Meanwell. This is an RD35, dual voltage. So what you have here is you have voltage 1, ground, voltage 2. Voltage 1 is 5 volts plus 5 volts. Voltage 2 is plus 12 volts. Nice little voltage adapter. Here's your in ground and then your live and neutral from the AC side. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this guy up on here. And as you can see, I've already lengthened these lines here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some heat shrink on these guys and then connect up the live and ground. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to be adding terminal rings, or they're not rings exactly, because my rings are too big. So I just snipped off a portion of them, but they'll fit in nicely here and provide a nice contact in that sense. All right. That way we have, and what I'm going to do is I am actually, rather than using a crimp process on this, I'm going to actually solder the wires into here to give a very firm, solid connection. All right. We've also done here, I've also gotten the 5 volts ground and 12 volts lined for the Atari ST port, adapter, whatever you want to call this guy. So we are good to go there. We'll put, actually, before we do that, we'll put some heat shrink on both of those guys. My lovely little heat shrink shrinker. And we'll just pick out some heat shrink. I don't have the widest variety of sizing, but I think this will be probably fine. These guys here. And we'll split this guy in half. Actually, let's get this guy on as well. That way I don't have to keep getting the heat gun out. This will work nicely. Yeah, just the right size. Just the right size. Ooh, maybe not for this one. It'll definitely be for the double line, but maybe not the triple line. Yeah, we'll be able to get it over here. Yeah, there we have it. Try one more time. See if we can't squeeze it on. I just don't like having those exposed wires, and I like to keep it kind of snug. Yeah, we got it. No, did I? Nope. We'll go with a slightly bigger diameter. This guy here should be good. Actually, we'll use both. Get the first half covered with this guy. The second half covered with this guy. And then we'll have a nice, let's heat shrink these guys first. I always love heat shrinking. It's so cool. It's practically magical. There we go. Make sure we got everything feeling good and solid. Yep, got that feeling good and solid. Now for these guys here. All right, good to go. There we go. You know, I have this habit of soldering things together and forgetting the heat shrink. Note, I did not call it shrink wrap this time. I'll wear those. Get my handy dandy helping hands ready. There we go. There we go. You see me okay? Let's zoom in a little more. There we go. Nice. Solid and hot. I'll get the next one. There we go. Got those guys done. Next part. Oops. Yes, we need to move you out of the way. We'll set this off to the side. And now we'll take these wires and get these set up. Actually, I need, given how small this wire is, just get this filled up. There we go. There we go. We got that going good. Next one. There we are. And we have that done. Next step is to just get this mounted here. And given its proximity back there, we're going to have to make sure it's pretty rock solid, but I'm not too concerned. We'll put some capped on tape on the back just to be safe, and then go from there. This is live. This is neutral. And then we will go voltage 1, voltage 2. And the Atari ST, red is 5 volts, blue is 12 volts. I think that's in general what the wiring looks like in these old computers. All right, you know what? All right, so what we did here is we ran this ground line to the chassis here, this frame, and that should be just fine. I'm going to just test that out real quick. So we got ground here, ground here, ground here, ground here, and ground here. All right, we are ready, set to go. So we are now going to just test this guy out in this guy. Be right back. It appears that I lost the recording or deleted or can't find the recording of me testing the power supply. It does work, and you'll see that later on in the video as well. Okay, a few things. As I mentioned earlier, I do need to fix up this keyboard. It was not working. What I'll do is I'll first clean this thing up. As I mentioned, I'll swap out this stem here. Actually, I think I already have one. I may not need to 3D print one, but if I need to, I can 3D print one. I'll replace those keys. We'll get this thing all cleaned up. I will we'll remove this back plate, the PCB on the back. I'll check all the solder points on all these wires here. I will also reflow the solder for each of these the mouse and controller ports as well. I haven't tested them yet, but I might as well do it while I have this thing open. All right. And then lastly, or not lastly, but let's get this case cleaned up. This is the bottom case. I already did a good scrubbing on it. We'll get this top case cleaned up. I may also swap out the feet. I think the feet on this feel really hard, like the rubber's actually really degraded on the bottom feet. So we'll go for that. All right, so we have all of the stems here. We have the rubber domes here. I'll be cleaning those as well. I don't know if you can see my desk, my table here, but that keyboard was an absolute disaster from a dirty perspective. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take a Q-tip and or a series of Q-tips and some IPA, and just wipe down each one of those contacts and just clean off this this PCB in a general way. All right. Just a light touch on each one. Just to clean the gunk off and expose the traces for contact. Ooh, that's interesting. Let me take a look at that there. When I say that's interesting, I mean this. I'm going to take a closer look at that. Now it looks like the traces are exposed, but not broken. Interesting. Okay. Get back to cleaning. I might investigate that further if the cleaning doesn't fix the issues that we're seeing with the keyboard specifically. That is it. Next step, right here. I don't see any cold solder joints immediately. It actually looks really clean. I'm going to just take a look at it with my eyeballs. No, it looks good. Actually, it looks excellent. I don't even think I'm going to reflow it because, I mean, anytime you take a soldering iron to a board, if you can avoid it, don't do it. Those solder joints look excellent. There looks like there's some rework done with a few pins. Actually, a few of these wires here, these connections here, look like they've been retouched up. And my guess is they probably changed out this and a few other wires, but just some minor work. Nothing tremendous. Let's just dry that off. All right. Next step, let's get towards cleaning these guys off. And so what I'll do is I'm going to rinse these off, let them kind of just scrub them a little bit because they're so dusty. I don't feel comfortable sticking them back in like this. And then as I place them in, I'll clean each one of the carbon contacts just very gently with a little IPA. See that little dot there? We'll just wipe that just gently. All right. You don't need to see me do this. This is just rinsing these guys off and cleaning them up. All right, be back. Fast forward to, I don't know, in a while. Okay, this is still a little wet. Let's turn this light on. It's creating shadows. All right, I'm being too lazy about getting my lighting set up in here, but whatever. It is what it is. Let me scoot this over. And then we can just, there we are. All right, we see this little broken off spot. We're going to use my favorite tool. This is not a structural part of the keyboard, really. It looks like it just took some impact damage in some way, shape, or form. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to super glue it back in place. Simple as that. And let me get some tweezers to better be able to place the guy. It's all dried off. It's not dried everywhere, but it's dried off here, so that's all that matters. So we can wait for, we're going to have to wait for other things to dry as well before finishing this guy off. Trying to just, okay. It looks like this. This is the way it's going to go. Is it perfect? No. Would you notice if you weren't looking for it? Probably not. All right. We'll let that set. And got to wait for a few other things to get set up, but I think we're pretty close to being done. Okay, now it's time to put the stems and then work on the rubber domes. What you see here, I like to set this up on top of these little things here, these little containers. We'll have to shift them around a little bit, but the idea is that it helps to actually make certain that the domes stay in place. So I just start placing these all back in place. All the stems. Now to place the PCB back on. You want, one of the things you need to make sure you notice, you get this LED here, you want to make sure that these two LEDs go, this one here, go through the respective openings. They're very easy to break off if you're not paying attention. Don't ask me how I've done that, but I have. I know that don't ask me how I've done it, how I know that. I know it because I've done it. Oh boy, be nice to me. There we go. There we go. Let's pin it down in a couple places. The first ones are the hardest ones to get in. I like to do the corners first, and then strategically fill in the middle, kind of go in between different points. Do you need to? Nah, probably not really. This is just me being anal retentive. All right, last bits for the testing. I've tested it throughout the different parts of the repair cycle, but you know, you always want to make sure you do a last minute test. It's all buttoned up. We've repaired, there's some significant damage to a lot of these holes. Everything is back together. And really structurally, while it's not perfect, it's way better than it was. And let's get the mouse in the mouse port while we're upside down. This keeps it easier. And then a joystick. All right. And flip it over. And we're going to first boot up into TOS, first and foremost. This is a heavy friend. All right, let me get a power cord. We'll hook up the monitor, my standard Atari test monitor. Let's make sure we're powered off. And find a couple of discs. Yes, here we go. We will start with this guy. Monitor on. I don't think there's anything on that disc yet. We'll see. Here, let's turn this so you can see a little better. It's not liking that diskette. There might be something on. It might be an Amiga diskette, actually. Here, let's pop it out. Oh, there we go. Let's let it boot up. Let's do a reset. I just want to test out the keyboard. Let's load Dungeon Master. Oh, there we go. Ooh, I need to work on that drive mechanism. Is binding up. All right. Let's just take this floppy disk here. All right, so this is one way to test out the keyboard. Ooh. Ooh, something's wrong with the keyboard altogether. Oh, I got one key. Just X, Z, okay. So that tells me a lot. So I need to check some of those traces on there. I didn't think there was an issue, but there apparently is. More fixing needed. And I'll be honest, I'm going to call this a a timeout for this video, for this guy. I'm going to take, this video is probably long enough. I think we're going to call it good for at least a part 1 for this repair video. There's a little bit more left to do, obviously. I need to dig into that keyboard a bit. There's some issues there. The mouse joystick work, that trace damage I saw, which I didn't think there was an issue with it. Obviously, if I had been smart, I would have done some continuity checking and tested it out some more. But there's still some issues with this guy, so I'll probably do some more detailed testing of the keyboard. I had hoped and assumed that the simple cleaning would be enough to fix it. It obviously isn't. There's more to do there on the keyboard. That said, I've had to do this before. We'll dig into it, spend a little more time with it. That's it for right now. Thanks for joining me on this little adventure. Have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. Bye.